Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the Riyria Chronicles by one of my favorite fantasy authors, Michael J. Sullivan. So I was actually introduced to his books a few years ago, way before I started BookTube, and I fell in love with the books. I fell in love with the characters, and I would say that if you are somebody that is just getting into fantasy, this is going to be an excellent series to start with. Not only the Chronicles, but also Riyria Revelations, which is the series that he started with first, but then he wrote Riyria Chronicles, which is the prequel to Riyria Revelations. So on his website, he actually suggests that you read the books in publication order. So that would be Riyria Revelations and then Riyria Chronicles. Only because for Riyria Revelations, you kind of get two books in one. So there's actually 3 books, but within each of those books, you get 2 books. And then there are Easter eggs that he leaves in Riyria Chronicles for those of us who have already read Riyria Revelations, which let me tell you, it was a fun time to catch on to some of those. I would actually suggest probably reading Riyria Revelations first and then coming back to the prequel series, but you can actually read it either way you want, either publication order or chronological order. So between Riyria Revelations and Riyria Chronicles, which is Chronicles, which I'm going to be talking about today, we primarily follow 2 characters, and that is Hadrian and Royce. These are 2 people who could not be even more different. So starting off with Hadrian, he is this really famous soldier. He worked with this group that was known to everyone for how good they can fight. But he's a big softie. He trusts everyone when he shouldn't. He gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. He's just really caring. He comes off as this guy that you just want to hug. And then we have Royce, who is this really good thief. He was able to break out of one of the hardest prisons to break out of because it's heavily guarded. He is somebody that will kill you first and then ask questions later. If he asks questions later, he does not trust anybody. He is very observant of his surroundings. He wants to know what's going on at all times. He's very quiet. He always wears, this cloak with his hood. He doesn't want people to see his face. So these 2 people could not be any different, yet they have come together and they take on different jobs for money, whether that's going out to try to kill somebody, whether that's stealing something, whatever it is, these 2 are working together. So like I said, Riyria Chronicles is the prequel to Riyria Revelations, and there are 4 books that I'm going to talk about. When I first started reading the series, I thought it was only 4 books, but we have a 5th book that will be coming out, Drummondor, at some point. There is no release date on that yet. But in this video, we're just going to talk about the 4 books that are currently out, and I'm going to talk about 3 novellas that are also included within the series. So we will go ahead and get started. So the first book that I want to talk about is The Crown Tower, which is the first book in the series. And this one is where Royce and Hadrian get together. So they are paired together by this man by the name of Arcadius. He's a professor, and he wants them to go to this really high tower to get this journal. Like I said, this is the first time they're working together, the first time that they're introduced to each other, and they do not like each other. I mentioned before, they could not be any more different, and so it's a time with them trying to go get this journal and all of the events that follow. So I gave this first book in the series 4 stars. I really loved seeing Hadrian and Royce together for the first time. I loved their banter. I loved both of their backstories because this is really us learning more about the characters. My only issue with this book is that it was sort of a slow start in the beginning. We were told a lot of things were happening in the beginning, but we didn't actually see it, and I wish that we could have. But other than that, I just really enjoyed the first book in this series, and it was a great way to kick off this series. So then the next book in the series we have is The Rose and the Thorn. This one takes place a year after the events of the first one. So we obviously have Hadrian and Royce that are working together still. And in this one, in the beginning, we find out that this woman by the name of Gwen, she is very instrumental in not only this series, but Riyria Revelations. So if you've read that series, then you know who I'm talking about, but I don't really want to spoil anything. But Gwen, we find out, has been beaten, and Royce and Hadrian are taking it upon themselves to figure out who did this to her so that they can enact their revenge. But also, while that is going on, we find out that this woman by the name of Rose has overheard some noblemen talking about how they want to kill the royal family. And so those people are trying to catch her, and then Hadrian and Royce get wrapped up in that situation. So this one is also just a fun time. I ended up rating this one a 4 stars as well. Again, I loved seeing Hadrian and Royce, their banter back and forth, us seeing them slowly start to trust each other more, and their friendship growing over the course of this book. I also liked all of the political intrigue with like the royal family, and I loved that in this book particularly, we got to see a softer side of Royce and realize that this guy really does have a heart, even if he doesn't believe it himself. My only problem with this is, again, it was like a really slow start, but once it did start, it did not slow down. So I really enjoyed it. So then we have the third book, which is The Death of Dulgath. And so this one follows Hadrian and Royce. They have been hired by the Church of Nifron to try and prevent the killing of Lady Dulgath. But actually what they want to do is they want Hadrian and Royce to find the best way to kill her and then tell that to the sheriff so that the sheriff can then prevent it from happening. So for this one, I did rate it a 3 stars. I still had a fun time with it, but for whatever reason, I just was not grabbed in the way that I was grabbed in with the other 2 books. This just did not hold my attention the way that I wanted to. But we did get some additional information about Royce's backstory that I absolutely loved. I loved that, again, their friendship is continuing to grow over the course of this book. We also see Hadrian care about somebody other than Royce, a little lady friend. So I like seeing that. And I think my other problem that I had with this one is that in the other books, Hadrian and Royce are always together. And in this book, they're not together as much. They're off kind of doing their own thing and trying to figure out some things on their own. And I just missed the banter between them. So that contributes to my 3-star rating. But overall, again, I had a fun time with this one, just not as much fun as I had with the other books. So then we have The Disappearance of Winter's Daughter, which is book 4. And so in this one, Nobleman Winter has hired Royce and Hadrian to go and find his missing daughter. The guy believes that his daughter is dead, and he tells Royce and Hadrian, once you figure out who did it, kill everyone involved. If she's not dead, bring her home and I will pay you. So they go ahead and take yet another mission. So I gave this one a 4 stars as well. I really enjoyed the mystery around her disappearance. And in this book, it got really deep in certain parts because we're not only just trying to find this missing woman, but it also brings up discrimination. Certain people are trying to fight for equal treatment. We also see how people are willing to sacrifice their own for the things that they want or the things that they feel like they deserve. And so I really liked how deep this book got. Again, we are seeing Hadrian and Royce's friendship develop, but in this one, you can really see how much they really care about each other and how they have grown to care for each other. And you can also see how they can start to read each other and know how each other is going to react in certain situations and the type of decisions that each of them would make. And so you can really see that these 2 people, even though they are so different, how much they actually care about each other. My only issue with this is there is a bit of magic in here that is explained that I was confused by, and I wish that I would have understood it more, but other than that, I just really enjoyed the story. So next I want to talk about the novellas, and there are 3 so far that are tied with this series. And the first one is The Viscount and the Witch. It's technically considered 1.5 in the series, so you would read it after the first book. And when I downloaded it to my Kindle and I started reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds so familiar. And it is actually the 2nd chapter in the 2nd book, The Rose and the Thorn. So this one just follows Hadrian and Royce, and they are introduced to another character by the name of Albert, who then is sort of kind of a part of their group who helps them find jobs. It's a really short novella. I think it's like 30 pages or so, if that. It might be even a little shorter. But I think you could probably read that novella before even reading any of the books in the series, just to get introduced to the characters, to see whether or not this is going to be a series that you would want to start. So then the other novella that we have is The Jester, and that is considered book 2.5 in the series, so read it after the second book. So this one just follows Hadrian and Royce along with two other characters, Wilmer and Myra, and they are all stuck in this cave trying to find this treasure that they were told by a jester would be in this cave. And so basically it's just a short survival story of how they're going to make it out of this cave and the decisions that they have to make along the way. It was very entertaining. I loved the banter between not only Hadrian and Royce, but also the banter that included Wilmer and Myra. It was a fun, short, quick read. Again, I really think that you could read this without reading the series, just to see if you would want to even start the series. So then the last novella that I want to mention that is technically a part of the series, or you can read it along with the series, that is Professional Integrity, which is technically book 2.6. So you would read it after The Jester. I unfortunately did not get a chance to read this or listen to this because it is only free with an Audible subscription. I no longer have Audible. I was not going to get Audible to read this or listen to it. So just know that this book is out there. So those are the 4 books in the novellas within this series so far. Again, I mentioned in the beginning that a 5th book was going to be released called Drummondor, but a release date has not been announced for that yet, but I'm really excited for it. So overall with this series, I just really enjoy Hadrian and Royce, their banter back and forth, their growing friendship, these missions that they go on that start off so simple and so straightforward, but it turns into a big mess for them. And then they're fighting for survival by the end. I just love all of that. I think these are books that you can just jump into. They are extremely quick to get through. I think you can read these books in between like your higher fantasy type books. They're a good palate cleanser and they are a fun time. So if you have not read anything by Michael J. Sullivan, I suggest that you do. Again, you can start off with this series, which is the prequel series to Riyria Revelations, or if you would rather read Riyria Revelations so that you can then get the Easter eggs out of these books, feel free to do so. No way is right or wrong. If you have read these books, please let me know your thoughts down below, or let me know whether or not you're interested in them. But that is all that I have for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.